On social media platforms today, quality content often goes unnoticed. On Den, users get paid for the creation, evaluation, and curation of quality content. Content creators are rewarded based upon the engagement and reach of their post or comment. Content evaluators are rewarded based upon the speed and results of their predictions about which content will trend or go viral. Community owners are rewarded based on engagement within their community. On Den, quality content pays.
What's up, DENDAO? Welcome to the meeting. It is Thursday, September 15th, 2022. Doing a weekly DENDAO meeting. We do this every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. I am is with us here. Hello, sir. Thank you for joining.
Hello.
And we have, it's just us today, and we got a pretty short list of things to go through. Okay. The biggest thing is the LCP is open. So we can vote on stuff. Yeah, that'll be great. I didn't vote last month because I was in Iceland and forgot about it.
Oh, you should give me you should pass those private keys over to me as a proxy.
Well, because of that, I've got a lot more lore because I usually just use them up every month. And I've got a lot more lore to vote this month. So I'll be going through and adding some votes to it.
Sweet.
All right, so we'll talk about that for a minute, and then I'll briefly hit on some mobile updates, and then maybe there's one or two topics that aren't on the agenda that we'll come across by the time we finish that out. Let's go right over to the LCP. So commitment phase is open. This is how we create new layers and new communities for free. The options, just as a reminder, are participate in the LCP, where you propose and vote on new community layers. This month it's going to be the number 1 layer ranked by unique voters, and then the number 5 and 13 layers as ranked by the max lore committed. And then the other types of layer is the business layers, where you can pay a fee in either Ether or Matter to create your own business layer or private layer to do with however you want. Those can be either public, they can be private to where you can't see them, they're invite only, and you do get, I think, a 20% or a substantial discount if you pay in Matter itself. And then at the end of the voting process, you can execute a couple of alternative LCP options to create them too. So let's look and see what's on the list. So we talked, you were on Coffee this week with me. We looked at this a little bit already, but UFOs is number 1 over in unique voters category. So unless it looks like almost there's a 9 voter lead for UFOs. So if you would prefer to have upcoming crypto projects win this category, you're going to need to convince at least 10 people to come in here and vote for the upcoming crypto projects layer or proposal to get it to win. Otherwise, you're looking at the 2 that are listed under lore, which is the total lore committed, because you can add as many votes as you want. It's not 1 vote per denizen. It is 1 vote per lore committed. So if we go down to number 5, I think books was at number 5. It's gotten bumped out by Bag Holders Unite. That is a seething rage layer proposal. Should be fun. If anybody wants to just bitch about bag holding, they can do it in there. And then number 13 is currently alpha. So if you're sick of the bags you have and you think you have some alpha information on some new bags that you could be stuck holding, you could put it in alpha. So they're related a little bit.
Yeah, kind of ironic to be separated in a sense. You kind of be neat if it was they were combined and at one point where then it was just like game on, fight it out, argue, hash it out. We already have a layer called hash out.
Yeah, we do. Yep. Yeah, we got a bunch of layers. and there's like 150 some odd proposals up too. So there's options. Comb through that, dig down deep too, because you never know when somebody will use the alternative layer creation. There's a fee-based way that you can, if you didn't win, let's say, if we sort again by unique voters. If you didn't win, let's say, you really want, I don't know, books, right? To win, which it looks like I need to make sure I throw some lore in there. I don't have any votes on it. But it didn't. What you can do is the first 5 losers, I'll say, have an option of paying a fee in matter, right? And so it starts at 200 matter and it increments 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, all the way up to 1,000 matter. And anybody can pay it. Who has, you can get together and vote on it collectively or pay it collectively. But because of that, one of the ones that you don't think is going to win might actually win. And if it's like, for example, books where I have no votes in there yet, the other, in case you missed it, would be the lore that you're committing is what becomes the lot, the ownership tokens. And that's where you have voting weight in each individual layer. And that is where you can propose different banners and avatars and rules and reputation settings. And then in addition, the last thing is that anything after anything above, I'll say, 8 unique voters, you can pay 2,500 matter to get created as well. Right. So some of these that you don't think have any chance of winning, like somebody might just decide, you know what, I'm going to fire up this Halo community right here. And then, hey, you missed out because you didn't look that deep. Aliens, right? Aliens and UFOs. Maybe aliens and UFOs are separate for a reason. I don't know. Maybe the aliens are the Atlanteans and the UFOs are from outer space.
So again, and again, just so we're clear for anyone else watching, there 2,500 matter will also get you in if you're just creating a layer that's even not on the list. Is that correct?
No. So I have to go back and check exactly. Probably email support if you are interested in opening your own layer. But
there you go. Yeah.
As I remember it, and don't quote me on this, but I think it was 1 ether or however many matter is 80% of that at the time.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, 80% of it. Gotcha.
Yeah. 20% discount or something like that. And that could be done outside of the LCP. So all the ones where I was talking about where you pay the fee if it didn't win, that has to be done during the creation phase. So this is going to end, if you look at the counter at the top, voting ends in 4 days and 18 hours. After 4 days, so in 4 days and 19 hours, there'll be a period where through that weekend, it's like the time to get in your fees if you want to create something that didn't win. Mm-hmm. And then once we're into the creation part where we actually create the layers, you have to wait until next time if you want to do that. But with the business layers, which is outside of LCP, you can do that anytime. It doesn't have to be during this cycle. Yeah.
And that formula is, like you said, it's matter divided into the price of Ethereum, whatever.
Yep.
Less 20% or 10%. Something
I reserve the right to be wrong about that, but I think it's 1 ether and a 20% discount to pay in matter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. So yeah, that sums up. Go vote on stuff. That's the point there.
There you go.
All right. So there's info about that in the LCP layer. And okay, so a couple of notes. Before we talk about mobile app updates, there's not really much to talk about there except that they're happening. I mentioned with layer ownership, those lot tokens are how you decide how your community is run. So right now there's a little bit of back and forth and a couple of layers and some issues that should be addressed on both ends, both in the community and with DENDAO. But one thing that I want to say is pretty important is the most highly underutilized, double negative or whatever. But one of the really powerful tools that are underutilized on Den for managing a community is the reputation settings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I implore you, if you're having any issues in your communities, to investigate how the reputation settings work so that you can better manage trolls and attacks and people that maybe you don't want to be in your layer, right? And try those as a first step, because a lot of people forget that those exist, and most of them are turned off or set to just a 1-star minimum by default. So you can do things like set a reputation threshold to where you've got to have a 3 or 4 or 5-star rating to even be allowed to vote in a particular layer. So if you're having issues, maybe open a dialogue within that layer, open up a conversation, and just lay it out. Say, hey, it looks like there's some disagreement on how this layer should be run. Let's use the tools that Den was designed to have and to use, and talk about what those settings should be, because there's a bunch of them in there. Should you restrict, maybe somebody can't post, but they can reply until they have a certain amount of reputation in that community. Or maybe somebody can post and reply, but they can't vote until they have themselves posted enough to acquire a layer reputation, so that we know who's actually handing out these votes and it's not just arbitrary. Right. So I'll also say that it seems to me that the layers that are not using the reputation tools are the ones having the most issues. So
well said.
There's that.
I agree. I would probably agree with that.
Mobile app updates. There is, I don't know if it was put out on a DENDAO call. I wanted to mention it. It was published, I'm pretty sure, as an announcement, but there's some features that are different in the app versus the other app, the website, I guess, the web app. So where you would go on a web browser, any computer, any phone that has a web browser, you can go and use Den from that, or you can use the Apple the App Store, or the Android Store apps, right? Those are two different apps, and they have some additional features. Like, interestingly enough, there are a couple of features on the apps that were included at the request of Google or the request of Apple. And I just want to say it's kind of cool that they're like looking at the app and sorting through it and asking relevant questions. You can tell that somebody signed up for an account and went through and was playing with it and using it and stuff. So, hey, they're looking at us. Awesome. So yeah, you might notice some differences there. If you're having trouble with the app, your phone should have a web browser. Try out the Firefox and Chrome browser as a workaround. Of course, that's not like a solution, but if you need to work around any kind of issue before it gets updated in the App Store, you can fall back to your phone's browser as a workaround until we get that fixed. So cool. There's the stuff to put out.
Speaking of which, I think it was Lisa during the Coffee with Den show was mentioning she was having some issues voting on the LCP process with the app on her phone. And
I'll have to check that out. I think that she was trying to vote before it opened, though, because it just at that time it had just opened like 24 hours prior.
Exactly, and that's one thing to keep in mind, that the window for voting is only a limited amount of time.
Yeah, 1 week per month. So there's only a 7-day period where you can actually go in and those buttons work. So if you go in right now, it's open. So if you go in and I've actually got a ton of lore right now because I didn't spend any, like I was saying, last month. And so if I come into, like I say, I'm going to vote on books. This isn't me trying to influence what you vote for, but I just want to make sure I have some of this because, as you can see behind me, I like books. I read some, and I'd like to talk about them some. So I'm going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sounds good. And I'll vote. All right. So that worked. And now my potential share is 18%, right? Until somebody else comes in and votes, and that'll dilute my share. That's how that works. Easy as that. And that is using your ERC20 lore token without a fee. Using it all you want. So cool. The point of what I was doing, I'm sorry, was that if I did this next week, it wouldn't work. If I tried to do it last week, it wouldn't have worked. So if you come in here to the LCP section and you see that you can't vote, it's probably because this timer at the top says 00000 and it's not during the phase, and you got to wait till next month. So thanks for the reminder to say that. What do you think about Den this week? I am. You're pretty engaged, and I really appreciate it.
I didn't vote on the Hispana thing because I wanted to go back and read what I don't understand in Spanish, translate all the different comments underneath before voting on that. And I haven't gotten back to doing that so that I could kind of get a vibe or a feel for what was going on. I think that, I don't know. We had a pretty good discussion last week in the DENDAO meeting about potential solutions to this type of problem.
And good point, actually. Go ahead.
I like the way, Joe was thinking, how we were as a group were kind of talking about and thinking that to make it more of an boosting the evaluator's reputation, and I thought was a very good thing overall for Den and for evaluators, but it also might help lend itself to somewhat fix this issue that we're seeing.
It could. There's definitely some balancing that has to take place if we do it that way. Right. After that meeting, we got together and talked about it a little bit just to see if there, what all the different solutions were, if there was a simple solution we weren't thinking of. And, and I haven't read all of the comments either. I'm not a native Spanish speaker, so I haven't gone through to translate them all myself at this time. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that as I remember that, the goal was to try to disable the ability of people who were just lurking and voting in collaboration. But the reputation settings, I don't think in that layer hadn't been set. So I think it might be worth trying that before we do something drastic like turn off the layer or something.
That's kind of a first step option.
Yeah. I don't want to go straight to the end of extreme reactionary action. But if it does become such a problem that, hey, we need to turn this off until we have a better solution and turn it back on, then we can look at that. But I think that the goal of weeding out malicious voters can be highly mitigated, if not solved, by using the reputation settings. And let me just open that up real quick to a random layer like advice here. And if I go into reputation settings, anybody with a lot can propose this, but when you're talking about changing reputation settings that affects everybody in the layer, I highly recommend not doing this as the first step. You should probably open a discussion in your layer about what to change the reputation settings to, because there's going to be some dramatically different opinions on that. And yours might not be as popular as you think. So there's a section called, first of all, you can turn reputation on or off. Advice has theirs turned on. And if you have it turned on, you can then go down here to the vote reputation threshold. And just to briefly explain how this works real quick, you have a threshold, which is how many times a denizen has to put content in that layer and be voted on before you start using their layer reputation instead of their site reputation. Because by default, nobody has a reputation, right? So you come in, you're fresh, nobody knows who you are. Before there's any data on chain, the site-wide reputation, all of Den, maybe you've been great everywhere else, but not here, so we'll go ahead and let you vote, right? Right now, both of these are set to all the way down to 1, right?
Right.
And I believe if you haven't done anything anywhere, you don't have any stars, right? So there's an opportunity to weed out some unwanted activity in a layer just by enabling these even with 1 or 2 stars as a requirement. Okay. And then after somebody has created content, and that's either a post or replying to a post, and people have voted on that post or people have voted on that reply, you'll that denizen will start to acquire a layer specific reputation that's different than the reputation in other layers and other communities. After that's happened 13 times by default, and you can change that number, but after that's happened 13 times, the reputation will switch over to layer rep, right? So if they come in and they're just being noisy and loud, or they're voting against consensus, or I guess that's not a good example, but if they're spamming with content that is unwanted and is voted down and stuff, they'll never get enough reputation to get past the next threshold. So like if I set the layer rep to 3 and I left site rep at 1, that would allow people to come in who may not be wanted and post things or reply with things that may not be wanted. But after they cross this threshold, their ability to do that action will be turned off. Right. So you can design your reputation, and it takes a lot of thought and consideration, but you can design your reputation to automatically moderate your layer for you so that you can take care of some of this stuff. So definitely wanted to point that out and talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. And I think we're still at a point where, well, I guess I don't know that layers issues well enough to maybe comment, but I like the idea that it's presenting a potential problem, and that we can get ahead of it before we grow, a little bit larger, and we can get ahead of it as far as to prevent any of this.
Right. We can see, because this is something that Den is designed to combat, is malicious users, bots, collaborative bot networks, stuff like that, right? So it's probably a combination of more polish in the tools and more tools available. That combined with education, and part of that is on all of us to just kind of figure out how this stuff works so that we can improve it. Because if it's really not working, we don't know that unless the tools that are in place are attempted at first to be used. So I guess that's the other reason I think it's important, is if we're not using them enough, then we're not trying out, we're not really seeing a good example of what the system is capable of. So, and also, like, it's probably the case that a lot of people don't want to be mean, but by like saying, no, you can't post here, or no, you can't vote here, or something like that. But if people are being mean to your community, then that's a defense that you can use. You don't have to use it offensively. You don't have to offensively filter. You can defensively decide what the boundaries of your behavior in your community is going to be. It's all behavior systems, right?
Right.
Cool.
Where do we stand on the building the? Well, I guess we'll go on to your agenda, and then we'll open it up to my question.
Yeah, so agenda's up. So community input feedback is where we are, and so that's fine.
Okay. Well, then, so my question is, where do we stand on the matrix, building out the matrix and the numbers and being able to present that? Do you know what needs to be done? What do we need to do from community input? What's missing?
I don't have a list of what's missing right now. I know it needs some work still, but that's a good question. There should be a point where we have something to show that I don't know where that is right now. I haven't. I've been out a little bit last week or two. But I tell you what, let's put that as a reply to this DENDAO meeting note, so it's not forgotten about. And let me just pose that right now. You want to dictate for me, and I'll write it in here as a note.
I was just status. What is the status update on the last DENDAO vote that passed, or proposal that passed, regarding what are we calling it? What was it called? Matrix.
The new the leaderboard.
Leaderboard. There you go.
And new metrics page. I know the metrics
big
page.
lunch, and I'm like,
Yeah, that's fine.
All the blood has flown from my brain down to my tummy.
So the metrics page, I think we'll get an update first. That's further along because that one had some important issues where there was some things that were showing up, just like being misrepresented. They were just displaying incorrectly. So that had some initial work, and I think that might have actually taken a week away from working on the leaderboard.
Gotcha.
That's just from memory. So status update on the DENDAO Pros of past, and I'll put leaderboard, and yeah, that's fine. I'll put that there, and then we can come back to it. So reply there. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to go and look on the DENDAO proposal itself. They're really fuzzy estimates, but there's like intensity estimates. I'm not sure how long it is proposed to take, but yeah, we should check up on that. And if Joe was here, he'd probably have a better answer, but he's not here today. Mm-hmm. So I'll blame him. Besides that, what can we talk about?
I think that was the item. Oh, I guess then the other thing is the library proposal up for voting?
Yeah, I think it is. Let's see.
Last time I checked, I think a couple of days, I didn't see anything that I could vote on site-wide.
I believe so. Let's look at governance right now and see what's open. I know I probably have something. None from me. What about DENDAO? Okay, this is the one we were just talking about. And then there is resolved. Yes. So we have this passed. Good point. I should have brought this up. So we have 2 DENDAO proposals. Looks like the addition of either Odyssey or some other alternative media being added in the next priorities GI is passed. So that'll be in there. And then let's look at the other one. And then, yep, same thing with the other one. So RSS feeds as well. So both of those will be added to the priorities GI to be voted on next.
Oh, super, super.
And let's see. If you haven't voted, go vote on those. Anybody on DEN can vote in those in the DENDAO proposals. There's one concerning the Comunidad Española layer, and that's actively being discussed and worked on. And then keep up with your layer votes too.
Yeah. Good.
Cool.
Those are the 2 items that I had for community feedback.
Well, we don't have to use a whole hour just because we have it.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Okay.
Cool. Well, all right. I guess that's all we've got.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So we've got some reminders. There's World Blockchain Roundtable has October theme suggestions open, so you can go propose something for October. I threw one in there, spooky blockchain stories, because Halloween. Greg from Rivet has thrown in a wrong answers only proposal. That'll be fun. Stuff like that. So go
describe the wrong answer proposal. What's that item?
Oh, just a wrong answers only. Like you can ask anything you want, but the hosts have to give wrong answers only. Right. So it's like the Bizarro.
The world is flat. No, it's round.
Yeah. Who is Satoshi Nakamoto? No, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, go subscribe and play along with that show, because as you play along, you earn ownership of it, and you can decide what the topics are every week. And that show is earlier today on Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern, or I guess that would be 8 a.m. Pacific time. Super Happy Dragon Lucky is on Tuesdays. That is another show that's related to this one. It's update show, and you'll find DEN updates in that one. You'll find Dragon Chain updates in that one, and there's also an AMA. Every week there's at least 3 questions that are picked, and then the founder and architect of Dragon Chain, Joe Roats, who hosts that show, will answer them. So that's a good one to get info from for sure. And then I have a show on Wednesdays that's now in the Coffee with Den layer. And I'll be cross-posting into the Den layer too, though, just as a reminder, because that's where it always was in the past. So I do that Wednesday mornings, and that's a really casual, like, usually Litecoin Lisa will come on, I Am For I Am will be on there, there's a couple of other friends, and we loosely have an agenda. Sometimes there's usually a topic that'll kind of get the conversation started, but really it's just anything that's on Den is fair game to talk about. Not necessarily about blockchain at all. In fact, it rarely is. So that's a good one if you're sort of a casual, like random topic interested person. And then this call, DENDAO, is Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern.
Sure.
Cool. And then, yeah, thanks for this request. We'll see what kind of updates we can get to that, and probably just reply directly to my reply. So look for that later on after today. All right. I don't have anything else. That'll be it. And you guys have a good week, and we'll see you next time, I guess.
Likewise. All right. Thanks.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.